The Caitlin Clark effect is an economic engine for women's basketball, increasing opportunities and changing stigmas about women in sport. The Caitlin Clark effect has been an economic engine for women's basketball, boosting opportunities for and changing attitudes about the professional female sport. During Clark's junior and senior years playing for the University of Iowa team, she drew record-breaking crowds and millions of TV viewers to her games. She also was credited with increasing Iowa State GDP as much as $52.3 million during her 4 years in college, according to the Common Sense Institute Iowa. Now, as a professional basketball player for the Indiana Fever, her spotlight has brought a surge of interest to the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA. The result is a phenomenon that has caused such a dramatic shift that she has literally disrupted the economic landscape of sports by expanding the market wherever she played. Looking at the typical attendance at games without Caitlin Clark and compared to games with Caitlin Clark, we can attribute roughly 1 out of every 6 tickets being sold in the WNBA to the Caitlin Clark effect, said Victor Matheson, a professor of economics at the College of Holy Cross, who specializes in the economic impact of sports. Going beyond the home crowd. What was particularly illuminating to experts was the fact that Clark's presence affected markets in her away games, where she also drew record-breaking audiences and new fans. It's pure joy in the arena she plays in, said Debbie Antonelli, an NCAA basketball and WNBA analyst for ESPN and ACC Network for the last 37 years, working with the Indiana Fever and the Charlotte Sting for the past 20 years. 4 franchises in the WNBA move their home games to accommodate Fever games. That's often double, triple, or sometimes quadruple what attendance they would have gotten if they stayed in their arena. All entities tied financially to the industry have been beneficiaries of the Caitlin Clark effect. The surging interest around women's basketball has increased the profitability of the industry and, as a result, has encouraged investment. People are putting big money based on what they dream could be, even if the money hasn't justified the investment, said Matheson. There is no giant company that ever started that didn't have someone basically going out on a limb and imagining what could happen. I think that athletes like Caitlin Clark and the success that she's brought in terms of dollars really brings that imagination out in potential owners. Sparking WNBA investment and expansion. A surge of investments into the WNBA came in through brand partnerships and league expansion. Since the end of the 2023 season, the league signed 8 new partnerships, the most significant being Delta Airlines, Bumble, and New Balance. In return, the WNBA delivered a record $136 million in media value for sponsors this past season, according to a 2024 study released about brand earnings from WNBA partnerships. The league plans to expand with 3 new teams, the Golden State Valkyries in 2025 and teams in Toronto and Portland in 2026. A number of professional athletes have invested in franchise ownership in the WNBA in recent years, including Tom Brady, who purchased part ownership of the Las Vegas Aces in March, and Sue Bird, who purchased part ownership of the Seattle Storm in April. While Clark has been the driving factor for the recent growth in women's basketball, there have been several economic factors that contributed to her success. She is merely a tipping point in the lexicon of society where we are 50 years out from Title X, so it is a time process, said Alicia Jessup, an associate professor of sports administration at Pepperdine University who specializes in law and women's leadership. Title X is a federal mandate providing equal opportunity for any sex in all educational settings. The law applies to public K-12 schools, public universities, and private universities that receive federal benefits. Since Title X was enacted in 1972, it has helped female athletes access resources and financial support, which kept them engaged in athletic programs. Since women's sports have only existed for 50 years, their leagues haven't had as much time compared to men's sports to draw audiences and grow marketplaces. When you go from no women playing sports to suddenly women playing sports, there's not immediately going to be a market, said Jessup. Clark isn't the first primetime female athlete to garner attention for her sport. Over the decades, media coverage has shifted toward women's sports because of female athletes like Billie Jean King, Serena Williams, Lindsey Vonn, who build a foundation of viewership. Nowadays, a new generation of female athletes like Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, and Ilona Maher continue to build on the success of their predecessors.